Next question comes from Aznot. I think that's how you pronounce the name. Do you feel a huge... This is a leading question, Aznot, but I appreciate it. Do you feel a huge issue with Street Fighter V is that it actually lacks defensive options? And what major changes in the game mechanics, balance changes, netcode, or characters do you think are needed for the game to stop getting a horrible stigma online? So I sort of talked about Meaty Fighter 5 earlier, the game from gameplay wise. So yeah, I'm kind of with you on the defensive changes. I did have an idea ages ago. People will laugh at this. I don't care. Whatever. In Street Fighter 4, there was an opportunity to extend combos by cancelling certain moves as they were happening, and then therefore cancelling their recovery and extending the move. And of course, what I'm talking about is FADC. So if you had 4 bars, you could do an FADC twice in a combo, and that is in fact what Daigo does in his super long combo against Momochi, which is super hype. Now, you can only do it once in Street Fighter 5, as far as I know. Urien maybe twice. I don't play Urien, but he has... Whatever. When you hit the V trigger, that's the cancel, right? So you can do a combo where you cancel using the V trigger. My idea was to introduce like a sort of a 2-part V trigger. It was a second part to that V trigger where you could cancel a second time, and therefore have, like, if you built up 2 bars, you could... I'm saying randomly, I'm saying 2 bars. I know there's 2 bars, 3 bars, all that sort of stuff, but just imagine in your head that there were 2 cancels. It would extend combos further. That was an idea I had, but whatever. Everyone has their own ideas, and usually those ideas are horrible because I'm not a game developer. But I am a casual player, and since I'm a casual player, I'm going to talk a little bit about something you probably wouldn't expect me to talk about. I'm going to talk about something that's on Reddit all the time. Reddit have done a really good job of compiling lists on this, and that is the actual user experience, the UX they call it, the navigation, the menu screen, and everything that you experience when you are trying to get into a game or get out of a game or watch a replay or train, right? Everything went backwards from Street Fighter 4. And do you know what happens? Is people get to a point where they just go, this is not, it's a hassle, and no. It's really, when I first started my YouTube channel, and I still do it, it's just my partner. I partnered with Fullscreen, and they actually put ads on my channels. Generally speaking, I start with no ad, and once it hits about 1,000 people, they automatically put an ad on. The reason I don't put an ad on the beginning of my videos was because I didn't want people to click away, because that's how impatient people are. They go, it's not worth it. I got to sit through 5 seconds of what? No, forget it. I was going to watch that video, but forget it. That's actually how people operate online. This is people who work with online advertising and things like that know this. They know how impatient people are. With the menu system and the loading screens and all that sort of stuff, there's a huge issue. And that may not be true for people who go to Wednesday night fights, right? Because you go to Wednesday night fights, or you go to your mate's house and you just grind game after game after game in the 2-player mode, right? And that's fine. But most of us, I say us, I represent the person who is not living in one of those places where it's really, well, actually it's not true. I can go to next level, but it's an hour away from me, hour there, hour back, and I actually have something else that I do on that night, which sucks. But most people play at home, right? And when I was working in advertising, that job owned me to the point where I couldn't just play regular video games whenever I wanted to. I had to play games which I could dip in and out of real quick. So that's the reality of most people's lives, is they need to be able to dip in, dip out real quick. They might have a family, they have to look after whatever, they have to dip in, dip out real quick. So Call of Duty is a good example of dipping in, dip out real quick. Get online, I'm going to have a quick match, it will last 10 minutes and be out. Street Fighter, dip in, have a couple of matches, and I'm out. Street Fighter 4 was like that for me. Street Fighter 5, it's like the loading times, man. Oh my god, the loading time. It's like, wait, I've got a whole list here. First of all, I just want to say, I got a text message from a friend who adores Street Fighter, one of the most positive people you ever meet. And he sent me a text and he just said, listen, we were just talking. And he said, I love playing multiple characters. He said, but with this game, it's such a hassle that I don't. And that was so sad to me. That was such a sad text from somebody who loves Street Fighter so much. And I just felt like Capcom, you need to fix this. So for me, I think, and I'll try and if I remember, I'll put the link down to Reddit. So Reddit have actually done a really good job of compiling this information, but these are my top ones. So I would like to see the load times decreased significantly. I'm concerned about this bizarre one-sided rollback and getting cut off from the network. I don't get cut off as much. I have a better experience than most, but the one-sided rollback sucks because when it's on my side, yeah, that sucks. But how do I know it's not happening on the other side? That really gets to me. Like, I don't want to think that I'm a god playing this game if the other guy has just experienced bad rollback. That just sucks. The character select screen. When I played the beta, I thought the battle settings was just a beta thing. I just thought it's easier to make the beta work this way. I didn't realize it was going to actually happen in the game. So in ranked, you need a character select screen. Ranked should be the closest approximation to a tournament, right? So we have best out of 3, which is great. And by the way, anybody who runs away from best out of 3 in ranked, you suck, because you can do your gimmicks in the first game, but like by the end of the third game, that's when you figure out whether you are relying on gimmicks or fundamentals. But if I recognize somebody's name, for instance, and I play more than one character, I can choose to pick another character. That happens in a tournament. If I get beaten because I'm using Akuma, but I know I can beat this guy with Karin, I should be able to switch characters afterwards. So there should be a character select screen, especially for my friend who likes to play multiple characters. There should be a default setting, my own default setting, that should be memorized in training mode, so I don't have to go in there every single time and rechange it, all the different options. The biggest one, this one is over everything. The biggest change that I want to see is communication. I don't know how you expect the game to grow. The community isn't just face-to-face, the community is online. You need to be able to talk to each other. I need to be able to talk to people. I need to be able to message people. Even if that person sends me toxic bullshit, it's usually because they lost, right? I love that. There's nothing more exciting than a salty message. Love it. I've even made videos out of it. It's brilliant. Cross counter. They used to check all their messages because that was exciting and interesting. Oh, what's this guy got to say for himself? That's all part of it. If you're worried about, if the reason is you're worried about, somebody being toxic, have a section where a parent can turn that off, or anybody can turn it off. Truth is, usually when somebody is talking, they're usually pretty, sometimes they're funny. It's kind of like there's a smug video somewhere where he plays a guy who's hilarious. It's little things like that where the extra content has been created out of this opportunity to talk to each other online. But let's take the comedy aspect out of the way just for a second and realize that the only way you're going to get better is by making friends online. You can do it in the real out in the real FGC, and I can use Skype or whatever, and I realize that we're on PC and we're cross-platform, and that's great, but the fact that I can't message somebody and say, just tell me, give me 3 things that I could have done better, how am I supposed to improve as a player if I can't communicate with people? If I can't communicate with people, I can't improve. And you can say, but you can communicate with them, blah, 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 via Facebook or whatever. That's not the point. That's not the platform. It's ease of use. The ease of use should be in the game. Capcom, you recognize that because you know that you are going to promote your games. Promote some of your events via that stage, which has like Red Bull Battlegrounds in the background, or Evo or whatever. And actually you should do more. In fact, I think you do occasionally have messages which say, this tournament is happening or whatever. you should do that. It should be embedded in the game. But communication between players is so important. I want to be able to meet people. I want to be able to say, listen, dude, you and I are on a sort of roughly the same level, and I really need practice against, Dalsim or whatever, right? So can we play a bunch of sets together? And as we play, can I ask you at the end of each game, like, what I could have done? What can I do against this move? I don't want to have to look it up in a book every time. I don't have to go searching for it online every time. I just want to talk to somebody. Because he'll know, because he mains that character. He'll know, like, what defeats for his own character. And I'll tell him. Like, he'll be like, well, what do I do against this? And I'll just tell him, that's a setup, dude. It's not what you think it is. You think you can't get out of it, but you can. You just have to do this. And that's the importance of communication. The importance of communication, you should know the importance of communication. I mean, even with just communicating with us, tell us what you're working on and what your priorities are and when you think they're going to be resolved. Manage our expectations. But that's a whole other thing. The replays. Like in Street Fighter 4, it was much easier just to go and look at a replay. For some reason now it's like you have to go, you have to find it, you have to save it. Sometimes it doesn't work. It takes a really long time to load up your matches. And then, save it and then go out of the menu, back into the menu and go watch it. And so, replays are supposed to be this thing that, you should be watching your replays religiously in order to understand what your weaknesses are. But once that becomes a hassle, then you're not going to watch your replays. And when you don't watch your replays, you don't get better. And you see where I'm going here. So communication and replays. It's like the whole thing needs to be reworked. Like the whole user experience needs to be reworked for the average player at home. And replays, why can't I slow replays down? I can speed them up. Why can't I slow them down? Why can't I just want to go through them slowly. So I can, okay, I'm seeing what's going on here. I can make a note or whatever. So it just feels like 70% of your time, I'm sort of exaggerating a little bit, maybe, I don't know. It feels like most of your time is spent in menus, trying to get through menus, trying to navigate things. If you want to watch your replays, then definitely a lot of your time is spent watching, trying to get to the replays before you can actually watch the replays. So that for me is like, to answer that whole question about, the game itself. I wanted to talk more about that because not many people talk about that. At least they do talk about it. They talk about it online, but nobody makes it real. Things only become real when somebody actually makes a video. So this is my little effort here. Scott Thompson again. He spaced out his questions. He says, "Have you considered opening a Patreon? I wouldn't be able to give much, maybe a meal a month, but I constantly look forward to your content, and I'm sure others do as well." No, not yet. A few people have talked about it. Don't know. I mean, it's interesting, right? It's not an answer so much as it is. Like, I don't feel like it's a thing unless I was amazing at Street Fighter, right? I don't feel like it's a thing that would be an answer for me. It wouldn't be like, hey, I'm going to be playing Street Fighter all day and teaching you Street Fighter all day, and I'd appreciate it if you paid me. I mean, it might be a way to help me get me out to interview people, if that's what people wanted. But not really thought about it. I just have to think about where I got to find a job. I was working here, a little window into my world. Okay, so my background is, said this earlier, but nobody's going to watch all the videos. Used to work in advertising. Had a very successful career in advertising. Ran some big brands for North America, much bigger than you expect. And got, went from London. They brought me over to America. I worked in America, worked in New York, worked big agency, big brands, big international brands, big global brands. Ran some huge teams, and one day just took my savings and said, I'm going to take a little bit of time out and go to some tournaments and do some things that I enjoy doing, because I feel like life is a bit short, and let's do it. Let's do that. Let's live in the now for a minute. So I did that, and I'm coming to the end of that. Like, I'm running out of money. It's been I've somehow managed to make that period stretch out a long time. I've not been incredibly efficient with it, but I've done some good stuff. I'm really proud of what I've done with YouTube. But it's now time to go find that next venture, that next job. And the question is, will that next venture job be in the world of video games, in the world of the FGC, in the world of streaming, in the world of, like, not being a streamer, but like job for Twitch or something, communications manager at Capcom, marketing manager wherever. I don't know. Who knows? I don't really know where the world is going to take me next. All I know is I've got to put my resume together and do something about it, and potentially move. New York's been here a good 10 years now, so maybe it's time to go to California. Maybe it's time to go to Austin. These are places that are hot all year round, and kind of a bit sick of the cold. So Patreon, I don't know. If I stream, maybe I'll open one up and try and figure out how I would use it. I think the main thing would be to somehow live a life that was constantly giving back to the FGC in some form or fashion. And I don't know if I'm the right person for that, if that makes sense. Don't know. So, considering my options for the future.